Hi, everybody. It's episode 508 of PodQuest.
Hey.
It is Tuesday, May 7th, 2024. I'm Chris. With me is Walnut.
Yeah, I'm here.
Drew got lost on his way to the store. We're not sure when he'll be back.
He went out for a pack of cigs, and I haven't seen him.
It's dark.
He's our dad, and he abandoned us.
I'm assuming I think he just had something going on tonight, probably a concert or PFL or something.
Yeah, something. I don't know.
But we're here to talk about nonsense for a time. Speaking of nonsense, have you started the new season of My Hero yet?
I did.
I have not because the dub's not out, but I saw a clip and I saw how it starts and I'm excited.
Look, I feel this way. I felt this way the past few seasons, or especially last season, especially on my rewatch in the dub. And I felt this way with Bleach 1,000-Year Blood War. These are becoming very shonen and very Dragon Ball, and I will argue that there has not been a good fight in My Hero since season 1. And it's getting a little frustrating that like fights are taking so long, like multiple episodes, and
they're dragging it out. The manga
dragging a lot
drags it out a lot too.
So you've read everything, and like you know what's leading up, so I'm not too worried about spoiling it. But basically, this episode ended in the middle of the fight between Stars and Stripes and what's his name? Shigaraki / One for All / or All for One / he doesn't know who he is.
Yeah.
Like it stopped just dead in the middle. She does a thing, and then it's like, all right, well, we've got another big thing coming, and then it stops. And
her power is one of my favorites, though.
Her power is fantastic. I love it.
Such a cool like concept one.
Yeah, it is. I just
for anyone that like doesn't know, like Stars and Stripes in My Hero, I might be misremembering, but she can basically verbally, as long as she knows a thing's name or a person's name, she can set some sort of rule for it.
I want to look up the name because I like the name of her quirk.
But yeah, so she can basically set a rule like anything within 5 feet of a person is a vacuum. There's no oxygen. She just has to know that person's name to do it. And then she can also set one thing to herself.
So what is her quirk name is New Order, and she can reassign a rule for anything she can touch and knows its name.
Right.
But she's limited. She's limited to 2 things. That's all she can do. Generally, the first thing is herself to make herself stronger. There's a limit to how much stronger she can make herself. And they even go into that in the episode. She can't be as strong as All Might, but she can be close. The other thing is usually what she can touch, what she can grab. So at one point, like the lasers get shot at her and she says lasers as they're touching her and she makes them controllable. She says, at one point she says air in this range is gone and it just disappears.
Yeah.
It's a really cool power. I love her power. But it's just unfortunate to me that it is becoming very Dragon Ball.
I mean, the manga. So I'm actually several months behind because it actually got boring. It's boring, and honestly, like that manga, like the art for action is not good. Mm-hmm. Like Dragon Ball, like even when the fights in Dragon Ball are drawn out in the manga, the actual I've almost said animation. The artwork for combat is so clean and crisp. You know exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
In My Hero, when there's like action stuff going on, you literally have no fucking clue what is going on and who is involved.
Yeah.
Like I have to wait until the following page when it just shows me who the 3 people are after they've stopped doing things. I'm like, this actually isn't fun to read, and this whole thing, like what is starting here, has been going on for I don't know 2 years, 3 years, something like that.
Of days in the show though, like in the books and whatnot. It's like
one day. It's been 1 day. It is worse than Naruto.
Yeah. Well, no, the last the Great Ninja War lasted less than a week, but once Naruto left the where they were holding him, that was less than a day. The entire final fight in Naruto took place over the course of a night.
Yeah, and that's basically what's been happening here. So, Star and Stripe was introduced in chapter 220 or 328, like as a non silhouette cameo. Like I believe this was the issue that ends with her intro on the jets.
Yeah.
And let's see, where is it currently? I'm just double checking to see what chapter they're on. They're up to chapter 421. So it's almost been 100 chapters.
Yeah.
Of the same general thing going on since then.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's been more than a day. I think everything has been happening in a day. Again, I'm about 10 chapters behind. So maybe things have maybe there's been like a little time skip or something like that. I don't know for sure. But yeah, it's basically like a 6 front battle. So what that chunk of Naruto during during the war where you were kind of getting specifically in the anime, where you were getting like episodes of like the different fronts of the war, like what was happening with the sand, what was happening in like the jungle, and the stuff with like Team 10 and like all those different like kind of like pieces moving around. That's basically what My Hero's been doing, but none of it's all that interesting.
Yeah, because it is all just fighting at this point. Like exactly. And that's it got to me last season. Bleach did the same thing, and like you'll get 3-4 minutes of a fight in a 23-minute episode, 22-minute episode, but you'll get that in 10-second spurts over the course of the 23 minutes. And then it's talking and exposition and flashback and this and that and whatever. Like there's been some good oh my god moments, and there's been some good emotional moments, and this anime does good for that. But it's also, when it comes to the combat, it is dragging itself too much with combat.
Which that's how they pace it out. That's how they make sure that even though the manga hasn't really not enough has happened in the manga to actually move a story forward. So it's like, cool, we're basically going to adapt this page for page, line for line, which it's something that One Piece actually started doing at a certain point. It was so close to the anime was so close to the manga that one episode is one chapter and nothing happens.
Yeah, and that was like Bleach. There were episodes of Bleach that there was like one or 2 points in Thousand Year Blood War, especially in the the most recent season, that a fight took 3 episodes, and nothing happened in those episodes.
Yeah. So Blood War is one of those things where it is probably one of the coolest story concepts in that series.
Mm-hmm.
But it is so flawed in execution. Like a bunch of stuff just drags forever, like what you're seeing now, and then the shit you want to see gets rushed to the conclusion.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was hopeful that they would make it better now that everything's done, and like they can go back and kind of they're not change the story, but make it flow better with the anime. And I'm still waiting to see if they can pull that off.
like Blood War. When Rukia uses her Bankai for the first time, it's during the credits.
Yeah.
It wasn't even like a big point.
And it was such a cool moment in the manga. Like it was a quick moment, but it was still cool as hell. And in this, credits.
It was a cool moment in this, but they filled so much time in before her using her ability that to me, especially because of how that fight goes, and I kind of knew how that fight went from prior experience of reading up on it, she should have. This is where a good time for cut, right when she says Bankai, cut, and then we see the outcome next episode.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good pacing. In My Hero, you have Star and Stripe meet up with Shigaraki. Cut right there. Have the entire fight in the next episode. Maybe fill in some of the flashbacks in this episode so that you don't have to cut away from the fight during that episode.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's just
you're not wrong.
But you're right. It's right. I guess I hate to say it's capitalism. They know this can go on. They know people are going to keep reading it. They know people are going to keep watching it. So let's keep making it and let's make it longer. My Hero was supposed to have had ended for the last 5 years.
Well,
Like,
it's been in its final stretch for the last 5 years.
yeah, and this was my exact problem with the finale, with the final seasons, like the several final seasons of Attack on Titan. Was a lot of it was very much dragged on.
And like Attack on Titan's even worse because that manga was done for years before they wrapped up the show, just
Yeah.
because the show was so popular. And like I get it with like the My Hero like anime. Like they can't move these episodes too quickly because frankly there's not enough story to actually like not overtake the manga because the manga is so slow right now.
Then he needs to finish the story.
Yeah. No, I mean like
I-
I agree. Like the story needs to end so that they can find a way to like properly wrap it up. But like the anime studio is stuck in a spot where people don't want filler. Everyone bitches about filler.
Yeah.
But like
I-
if they try to streamline things anymore, they're just going to run out of actual material and then be fucked for another season. And it's
Well,
like,
then pull an Attack on Titan, not 4 final seasons, but take a 2-year break. We don't have another Chainsaw Man coming right now. When's the next Chainsaw Man season coming out? I don't think it's even been announced.
which is weird because that is so far ahead. Like they barely got like 30 chapters into it.
Yeah, but that's the point. Like, there are animes and there are series out there that will catch up and then wait 2 years, wait a year and a half, whatever, before production and release. Let's do that. I want to see All Might fight Stain, because I know this is going to happen because I've read up a little bit. Or not Stain, but All Might fight All For One in his robot mech suit. But I don't want that to be 4 episodes. I want that to be 1 episode.
It won't though. It'll be 4 episodes because because it's going to be broken up by the 6 other stories going on. So you'll have, it'll be 7 episodes worth of it because it'll show 3 minutes of that fight, 3 minutes of another fight, 4 minutes of another fight, a few minutes of a flashback, like.
And that's where like the pacing can be fixed by doing, here's what's happening here, get close to a conclusion. Meanwhile, flashback an hour or 2. Here's what's happening here, get close to a conclusion. Meanwhile, flashback. Here's what's happening here, close to a conclusion, flashback. On all the fronts, and then 1 final episode in that season, wrap it all up at the same time.
Yeah. And so I actually just looked into Chainsaw Man. There is not a second season even announced yet. There's a movie announced, which I believe is the next story arc.
Yeah.
So, that's certainly a way to do it too. Which,
I mean, that's Demon Slayer does that too. Demon Slayer will release, the first season was released, and then the next season was a movie, which then they turned into a season, and then the next season was another movie that they turned into a season. You know what? Let's adapt that for animes. I'm 100% for that.
Yeah, my only complaint is sometimes like, so the most recent one they did, they didn't actually make the next arc movie. They made a movie out of the last 3 episodes of the previous season and what will be the first episode of the next one.
Yeah.
Which that sucks.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the train and whatever the other one was, like
Mugen Train and the entertainment. I think the entertainment district had like a movie or something with it.
No, because that was that rolled right after the train. So it, like the train happened. They did the 6 episode like episode breakup for that, and then it went right into the entertainment district, like all in the same like season. Let's call it.
Yeah.
But there was another movie in there because we went and saw it, and I'm drawing a blank on what it was. Oh well. But yeah, like I agree with you. Like the pacing for this stuff is bad. Be prepared for Bleach to actually probably be rough. And like unless they make some changes to it, it's not going to be like a satisfying conclusion, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But like there are some cool moments, but then there are moments that should be cool that they kind of like the Rukia thing. There's in one of the last couple episodes when Ichigo finally shows up. I feel like that should have been him being able to just kind of tear through the guys that were there to show the power gap between him and the actual bad guy.
Yeah, that was the biggest like punch in the mouth with Thousand Year Blood War season 2 was they spend all season leading up to Ichigo having his powers being fully restored and getting into the fight. And the second he gets into the fight ends.
Yeah, the fight ends. He doesn't really get to do anything too cool.
Yeah, he got to do one Getsuga. What's his new one?
I don't even remember what the new one is actually called.
It's not Getsuga Tensho. It's Getsuga like Chosen or something like that. I'll look it up right now.
But yeah, he does like a couple like small cool things. He saves Kenpachi, and then everyone else shows up to be like, "Hey, you have to go after this guy instead. Like we've got these people that were already beating us." And I feel like if they would have just had him take out like those three that were giving everyone a hard time to show that he was beyond them, and then he goes and gets wrecked by Yiwa again, or like by some of those lieutenants with him. I'm like, okay, you're now setting power scaling. Like we now know that he is still leaps and bounds from where like those guys are.
I mean, Getsuga Juisho or Jujisho, Jujisho, Jujisho. I can't remember. But yeah, it's getting very I hate to say shonen tropey, but they are kind of made for kids and kind of they are shonen. I don't think My Hero is actually a shonen anime.
No, it is.
Bleach is, yeah, so they're shonen anime, so they're going to do the normal shonen thing, and it sucks for the people who just want to see it.
Yeah, the demographic for those shows are 12 to 18.
Yeah.
Like other people read them and watch them, but like that's the demographic they're aiming for. So
yeah.
But anyway, Rich, what is on the agenda this week?
So on the agenda this week, Cobb, you read a Korean webcomic, Omniscient Reader Viewpoint. I started back up with Mega Man Mondays with Mega Man Zero. And we're gonna have a little discussion.
Well, that was weird.
Yes. Do you want me to restart about what we're talking about, or just keep going?
No, just keep going.
Okay. And Cobb, you played a little bit of the early access of Hades 2.
I did.
Yeah. So tell me about what is this Omniscient Reader Viewpoint? Omniscient.
So it is. So like you mentioned when you were reading through the agenda, it's a Korean webcomic that's based off of a Korean web novel.
Mm-hmm.
So it's on that Webtoon app. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I've heard of it.
So it's on there, and they actually do release like physical, like bound up editions. Right now in the US they have 2 volumes with a third one of the web comic on the way. So it is maybe the tropiest thing, but like in a lot of good ways. So it's a post-apocalyptic show where like the world has basically the world ends during the beginning of the story. And you follow this guy, Dokja, I want to say is how you say his name. He's like an office worker, and he's not even like a permanent office worker. He's basically a temp. Like he just kind of bounces from like contract to contract. Mm-hmm. And his hobby is on the subway train home. He reads web novels. Mm-hmm. And he's been reading this one for 10 years. It is over 3,000 chapters, and he has been the only person reading it for the last like 9 years, basically.
Yeah.
So like they show you on the screen him like flipping through the chapters. Every chapter has one view, and it's him. Mm-hmm. And the final chapter releases on his ride home, and he leaves a comment like basically thanking the author, and the author responds to him with, "Hey, thank you for reading this and letting me fulfill my dream. I'm sending you a gift." And then right after he reads that, the train stops, and this weird little demon alien dude pops up and basically announces that everything's gone to shit. Earth has been taken over by these like they're alien streamers. Like legitimately they're Twitch streamers.
Okay.
They show up and they put different planets into awful situations with life or death scenarios for other aliens across the galaxy to watch. And their first scenario, they're on a train, and in order to live, they have to kill another living thing. But they can't leave the train. So they basically have a train car full of people, and the idea is like half the people in that train will live. Because if one person kills one other person, that's it. But there is a bonus that if you kill more than one person, you get extra points. Because you do collect coins as you're doing this so that you can buy stuff from the online store. So it's got a little bit of like that Sword Art Online, like they can bring up like a HUD sort of thing for that stuff, which is weird. But the gift that the guy was given is that web novel he's been reading is this story. It is what is happening right now. He is actually he's one train over from the protagonist of the web novel that he had been reading for the last 10 years. So he knows how the whole world works. He knows how to get stronger in this world. He knows kind of like, not loopholes, but he kind of knows how to like work with the system a little bit. But he's also terrified of the actual protagonist because the guy's a little bit of like a psychopath. And yeah, so it goes from there. He actually finds a way to get out of the train scenario without killing a person, by actually just killing bugs, because that was the stipulation, was a living thing. Didn't have to be a person, just had to be alive. And he actually helps a few other people by doing that too. And that kind of becomes like his group essentially. And yeah, so it's actually a very long series. It's about 200 chapters right now. I'm about 30 chapters in, so I'm through like the first 2 volumes of the physical releases. And it's weird, but a lot of fun.
Okay.
I read all 30 chapters like in a sitting, basically. Because it's one of these things where it just kind of flows, and it leaves off on a cliffhanger, like the best comics do, where you want to see what comes next. So right now he's not like the most powerful guy, but he's smart, and because he has all this knowledge, he has all these cool buffs to himself. Because it's basically been gamified, because people are watching this and they want to see interesting stuff happen. So different characters get different like abilities. And a lot of his abilities basically come down to he knows what's happening already, so he can't be used in the same ways. Like even the little demon goblin alien creatures, they have ways to like take over like your mind essentially and like make you do a thing. It doesn't work on him. Like his basically his passive trait kicks in and blocks it from happening. Mm-hmm. And one of his abilities that actually nicely enough, like he can't just spam it. Like it does have like an energy cost basically. Like if he gets too tired, it doesn't work anymore. But it's called Omniscient Reader Viewpoint. And he can kind of see the future. But like just like the next person, like the next thing that's happening essentially. So if somebody is attacking him, he knows what they're going to do, so he can be like that one step ahead of somebody trying to kill him.
Yeah. A little of this, as you were talking about it, and you were talking about like it's the alien streamers basically doing this stuff. It made me think of that movie Nerve from 2016. I had to look it up. That's the only reason why I know it. It's a movie called Nerve. It's got Emma Roberts and Dave Franco, and they join this that dares people to do things, and it becomes increasingly more dangerous as the movie goes on. And I guess they get fame or maybe money. I don't really know the full outcome of the movie. It made me think of that movie when you were talking about like, oh, these space aliens are giving them tests that they have to do, like kill a living thing or this or that or whatever. I'm like, oh, okay. It sounds like something like this, but it sounds cool. Like it's a neat concept.
Yeah, and as I'm reading it, a lot of stuff in this feels familiar, but not in like a bad way. Not in they're just doing battle royale or something like that. Like mm-hmm. It's a lot of tropes and a lot of things that you can kind of see, be like, okay, well, I see where that's going to go. And sometimes it does go in a similar direction, and other times you're like, well, that's not what I expected to happen at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, like so far it's been neat. One of the things that they have is, and you as somebody that streams, so your viewers, they can basically spend bits on you. I guess is the best way to put it. Which is they give coins directly to a player if they like what a player has done. Um, uh, they're not actually called players in the series. I'm actually drawing a blank on what they're called. But like they're all being forced against their will, so they're not really playing anything. It's kind of like the most dangerous game.
Yeah.
And anytime that they do that, the little alien dudes actually get like a percentage of it. So if a player gets 100 coins, the alien thing got something else in return. They got like 50 or 100 themselves too.
Yeah.
But then they can also subscribe to you. So like right after that first scenario, everyone got an option to basically pick like their sponsor for it, which would the sponsor would be able to give you access to stuff and give you rewards and give you buffs and things like that as you're doing different things. And our main character, because he was familiar with all of them already, actually had this like little. It was a little bit of an exposition dump, but it worked because it was filling in some of the blanks that like the story hadn't really explained yet. So he was actually able to go through. He's like, I recognize that name from the novel. This is what they were all about. I'm not working with them. And he ends up just not picking one at all, which I thought was interesting. He's kind of like going it alone, but because nobody that's like other than himself, no one knows that he knows what's going on or kind of like how to get around these things. All the viewers are very interested in him. Some of them don't like him, but they're still watching him.
Yeah.
So he's able to use that to his advantage when it comes to dealing with the little alien dudes, because their entire being is basically wrapped up on like having the most popular stream essentially.
Yeah.
And it seems like their streams are like set to specific areas. So like he is in Korea, so like that is, I don't know if it's all of Korea or just like the city that they're in. They haven't kind of gotten that that sort of information out yet, but it's basically like if you want to see these characters, you have to watch this person's stream. But from the way the text sounded, if a character were to go outside of that person's area, they would just end up on a different character's or a different alien's stream.
Yeah.
So it's weird, but like interesting weird. But yeah, Omniscient reader Viewpoint. It's fun. It's basically free to read too. Like it's just on Webtoon. It's like the most recent 5 chapters get locked behind like a paywall. But every week like a new one comes out, so another one unlocks basically. So if you catch up, you just wait a week and you get another chapter.
Yeah. Yeah, nice.
But yeah, it's fun. I like it.
Let me tell you, these birds that like to be outside my window are a pain in the asses because I do all my recording now on Wednesdays for my Let's Plays. I can't play Bloodborne until after it gets dark when the birds stop chirping because I can't have birds in the background of me playing Bloodborne. I can't have happy chirp, chirp, chirp as I'm getting fuck, shit, and killed.
Yeah, you got to get a noise gate.
I mean, I do Porsche first, and it kind of fits in with the background noise of the game. So I'm just like, it works. It's not a big deal. I don't really care that much. One of these days, I'll have an actual office area to record this shit and not have to worry about birds being right outside my fucking window. Thanks, meme. Thanks, meme, for always feeding the birds.
But would you like to talk a little bit about Mega Man Zero? It's one of the Mega Mans I have never played before.
Yeah, so Mega Man Zero is a GBA game, I believe. Came out on the GBA. They have
really?
so there's 0 and then 2 3 0 through 04. 0 0 2 0 3 0 4.
And then ZX2, right?
There's ZX and ZX Advent. There's like those are 2 separate kinds of games. I don't really know what the ZX games are. It's interesting. So I know they take a turn back to the normal style of Mega Man games. Maybe in like 0, 2, or 3, like 2 or 3, it returns back to the normal style of Mega Man games where it's like you pick a level and you go. But this first one, you jump in and you're 0. It's 100 years after the events of Mega Man X. My headcanon says it's 100 years after the events of Mega Man X5, which is when 0 dies. I think this actually came out at that point as well after X5. The best one, but who knows with fucking Capcom anymore. But it takes place 100 years after the events of Mega Man X, And you find out that Mega Man, that X, is like basically destroying the world, and he thinks that all the Reploids are Mavericks and blah blah blah. It's an interesting story. There's nothing too spectacular about it because it is a GBA game, so like they don't want to bog you down with too much story and too much reading on those little fucking screens.
Right.
It's funny. You get like three words per dialogue option per line, and they only show you one line at a time. So you're like, oh my god, there's so many lines of dialogue. And so it starts out this character Seal, spelled Ciel. She basically revives Zero, and he doesn't have any memories, and she kind of explains the world, and you have to go and try to build this resistance force that she's working on. And then it goes into playing as Zero, and you have a gun and you have your sword to start with. Because it's GBA, there's only 4 buttons and the control and the D-pad. So you could be using an Xbox controller playing on PC. You're only using right bumper, left bumper, X and A, or A and B, A and B. And it kind of drives me nuts a little bit because the secondary weapon is fired with the bumper. The primary button is attacked with A or B, whatever you decide to set that as. And then dash is the right bumper, and then jump is the other button. And I still confuse myself with the buttons constantly because I'm holding a controller with fucking 8 buttons that I can use, and I'm only using half of them. And they're not just the face fucking buttons.
That is the downside to going back to like old games is, oh right, like old games, far less like buttons in those.
Yeah, so like I kept having issues with that, but like it's not too bad. You can change the control scheme. One of the control schemes is actually an interesting way to do it. So you can have a primary and a sub weapon. Your primary weapon is usually the weapon that you're using your face button to attack. Your sub weapon is the weapon you're using your trigger button your bumper button to attack. However, the initial combat mode is bumper and hit the button and hit the attack button. So like it'd be left bumper and attack and A or B, whatever you set, to fire your gun or to use your sword, which I was like, that's not comfortable. So I set it to where it's just tapping. Or you could set it to where if you tap and then you don't have to hold the button, you just tap it and it switches the primary weapon. So it switches to the sword or the shield, or not the shield, the guns or whatever else you're using. As you play through the game, you unlock more weapons. I've got 4 weapons right now. One is just like a spear that attacks in all 8 directions. But like only one in one direction based on the direction that you're holding. So like if you're just holding forward or back, it's going to attack in front of you or behind you, or like in the way you're facing. If you're holding up, he's going to attack up, down, and then diagonally. There's a shield, which is probably the best weapon in my opinion, because you hold it out, it'll reflect light weapons, and it won't deflect like heavier attacks, but you charge it, and when you let go, he throws it, and it like boomerangs itself back to you. So that's a cool weapon. So I am generally running around with that as my secondary, and my primary is the sword. The more you use your weapons, the more proficient, quote proficient, you get with them. That like with the sword, for instance, you can only do 1 slash. Then when you get proficient enough, you can do up to 4 slashes. Or your charge, your charge gets more powerful, or you charge faster, stuff like that. The thing that is weird about this game, besides the fact that you get to pick what missions you go on, but you don't really get to pick like you don't know who the bosses are. You don't know if it's going to be a major boss. You don't know if you're going to get new abilities or not in those missions. It's some of them you get elemental abilities, and so you can set your sword to be fire, like your weapons to be a fire based, or a lightning based, or an ice based. Those are the 3 elements.
That's kind of like what they did with Mighty Number 9 and the other one,
Gunvolt, right? Is that what
like the Mighty Gunvolt or whatever that one was called.
Yeah.
That like those games had more of a like elemental like sphere sort of thing going on.
Yeah, so like you can have your sword and you can either have it no element, you can have it ice, you can have it lightning, and some of the robot bosses that you do encounter are weak to elements, but the only way you know is by trying. It's normal Mega Man procedure. The thing that gets like really weird is they added this system of, they call them elves, cyber elves. So you collect these things as you run around, and there's little small ones and there's big ones. And as you collect them, depending on what they are, you end up having to feed them power crystals in order to be able to use them. Some of the elves that I have are like, oh, it'll heal you. You can only use each elf once. You can never use an elf again. Only use each elf once.
Funny that they have elves.
What's that?
I said it's funny that they have elves.
Yeah, cyber elves. Cyber elves. So you can only use it once. Once you use it, it's gone. So it'll heal you, or it'll do this, or it'll do like one that I used by accident was like it'll slow down time or something like that. I don't remember. Or like it'll make sure enemies are always dropping items for X amount of time. Stuff like that. And then there's a few that are what is it? That's how you get your sub tanks. You get your sub tanks by having these elves and using it. And it'll give you a sub tank, and then you always have that sub tank. There's one elf that just says, I'll increase your defense. I don't know if that elf is a temporary defense buff or a forever defense buff. I don't know yet. I really don't know. I can't tell you. And to be able to use, for instance, that defense elf, you need to feed it 1,000 power crystals. Guess how you get power crystals, Cub?
Killing enemies.
Yes, random drops, RNG.
Oh, they're actually random.
Yeah, they're not. It's so basically it's your energy canisters. So you have your health and then your energy canisters. It's basically looks just like your energy canisters from all other Mega Man X games. You gather those, but it's random. It's not all the time. You don't get extra power crystals for beating levels or anything like that. It's just flat out random. So you need 1,200 to get a sub tank. You need 2,400 total to get the 2 sub tanks that I found. You need 500 to increase your jumping capabilities or whatever it says. You need 1,000 to get increased defense. And the best way to get these power crystals is to grind for them I did some research while streaming. The best route to do it is at the end of a certain location that you can go to between missions. There are about 15 enemies that have that if they drop an item, only drop either small or large power crystal containers. And
well, that's frustrating.
I would say that they drop them a third of the time. That is the best way to do it. You kill these. They're all one-hit enemies, so it's not a big deal. But one run of going back and forth will net you, if you're lucky, about 100 power crystals. So I need, and it takes about a minute or two to do. So like, if I want 2,400 power crystals, it's going to take me about an hour. And it's just, it's a weird concept because also the game does not save before every mission. You have to make sure to save before every mission.
Which for when it came out, I like that does make a little bit more sense.
It's par for the course for the time frame.
Yeah.
However, you don't get unlimited continues and retries. Well, you do, but you don't. If you go into a mission and you don't have any more retries or continues or extra lives or whatever you want to call them, the mission is over and you straight up fail the mission for the rest of the game. You cannot go back and do that mission. You cannot get whatever you would have been able to get when you were in that mission. You're just done. The mission is over. It also doesn't refill your lives. So the next mission you go into...
You just get blocked from that one mission, but you can just keep doing the other ones?
You get blocked from... Yeah, you get blocked from that mission if you have no more retries, unless you can reload before going into the mission. You can't. It's just you have to escape. You basically what it is you escape the mission, and it counts that mission as a failure, and you can't do that mission anymore. But if you have no more retries, it doesn't refill between missions. So the next mission you go into, if you have no more retries because you failed the previous mission, and you die, guess what? Well, you just failed that mission now too. And if you go into the next mission and you die, guess what? You just failed that mission now too. And there's like, to me, there's no real way to grind for like that sort of stuff. Grind for the what's the word? Grind for like retries or lives or whatever. And there are you basically tend to go back to certain locations to do certain missions. And sometimes when you go back to those locations, it will change that location afterwards to where if you go back to it later, you can't go do other things. So there was one mission I did that after I finished the mission, the building collapsed. But while I was in the mission, there was like a secret area that I couldn't figure out how to get the jump. And I'm like, all right, well, I'll get that jump later. I'm sure I get a double jump or something. I don't have a double jump. And I played it for an hour. The game had tracked me for playing an hour and a half, but probably more than like 2.5 hours after dying and reloading so many times. I never got a double jump. So I need to figure out a way in order to get that thing to figure out like the better climbing capabilities or whatever that I had.
You have like wall jumps?
You do have wall jumps, but it's one of those scenarios where like you can wall jump onto the wall, and then the opening to jump up to where you're trying to get to is barely it's like a wild platforming issue. Like, you know how to get the full armor in Mega Man X1, where you have to do that dash jump and be able to headbutt the bricks to get in. So it's kind of like that, but it's not even that, because you can jump onto the wall, but it's then trying to figure out how to dash jump off the wall onto a piece of wall that's barely big enough to hold you to be able to wall jump off of. It's dumb. It's wild. And I'm like, all right, well, I'll probably get a double jump or something. And then I finish that mission and I can never go back to that location because of the way I did it. And so I got to a point that like I spent the time to get the energy tanks, the sub tanks, to be like, all right, well, let's try this. Let's see how this works. And I do the time, I get the one sub tank. I'm like, great, I have it. I guess I have it forever now. But it took me a half hour to get. Now what? I go into a mission and my dumbass forgets to save before going into a mission, and I fail that mission. I go into the next mission and I don't have any retries, and I fail that next mission, which is just a straight up boss fight immediately into that mission. And I'm like, this is rough. Like, I knew it was a harder game, but it's just it's such a weird decision what they made for these games. And I don't think it's long. I don't remember how long to beat has it for. Like maybe 3 hours or something like that, but I don't. It's weird.
I mean, that's Mega Man games though. Like if you look at any of them, like the time to beat's only like an hour, but that's like time to beat after you know really well how to play the game.
Yeah, and like I had people coming in the stream be like, "Oh man, I've been looking to play this game for so long. I've never been able to play it." Blah blah blah. And I'm like, "Yeah, but here it is. Main story 3 hours. Main and sides 4.5 hours. Completionist 10 hours, because the completionist is getting all of the cyber elves. There's fucking 10 hours of grinding. There's no unless like there's something else that gets unlocked after you beat the game, like a new game plus or something. Let's try to get all that things. You like spend 10 hours, 100% completion. Like there's also, and I still have not been able to figure it out or understand it. There is it says like it'll have my health bar and it'll give me level C. And I played that game for an hour and a half and I was still level C. I almost cleared all the levels that were available to me for me to clear. I was still level C. I'm like, I don't know what this means. There's also
it means you have growth opportunities ahead of you.
There's and like from what I was reading, it's based on your completion of the previous missions or something. Because you get a score when beating each previous mission, and that will determine your level, I guess, which doesn't make sense unless C is the best, and it's like, all right, well, we're not going to reward you because you're doing too good. If I'm doing bad, then like if I'm not, I don't know. I might try. I'm gonna try it again next week, but I'm probably gonna pull up a guide for it to just tell me which missions to go to, when and where, and how to do things. But I don't. I might just watch a playthrough to like not a 100% playthrough, but like a good playthrough. But it's weird. The fact that beating a mission doesn't give you any cyber crystals or power crystals, whatever they're called. And like I went into a mission after having fed some of my elves. I went into a mission, came out, and I had 6 power crystals. After I just spent 300, I had 6 because I didn't pick up any. And that's the bullshit. Like why are these things random? Why does it have to be
that
random?
is a weird thing for something that you need so many of to do certain things.
Yeah.
For it to be like random drops and for there not to be like you get a big amount for like defeating like the level boss or something like that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Hey, you beat a boss, you automatically get 1,000.
Yeah.
Because then at least it's like, okay, cool. Like I can sit here and grind enemies, or I can just defeat the enemies as I go and then get a big payout from the level boss.
Yeah, and that's um let's see. I'm looking through.
It's also a 22-year-old game, so
Yeah, I mean it's an older game, but I gotta protect the base, find the hidden base, rescue Culver. Yeah, I literally had based on what I'm looking at on this strategy guide from IGN, I had completed rescue Colbar. I had done Duel in the Desert. So I was going into like I think the next mission I was trying was protect the factory. I was like stop the hacking and protect the factory. I had like 3 missions. Rescue Colbar, stop the hacking, protect the factory. That's all I had left before going into the end game. And like I didn't level up, I didn't get stronger, I didn't get more powerful. I was just me from the beginning of the game. And it's such a I feel like it's not bad, but it doesn't really work very well.
yeah, it sounds like that. Like it sounds like maybe it was just not necessarily a system that was totally thought out.
Yeah.
I did see apparently the game generally got positive like reception, but some people didn't like it because it was too hard. So
Yeah. Partial healing. So like I want to see I'm looking at this guide. I want to see if the what's it called? If one of them if like the defense is a permanent defense. Stop the hacking mission, max life increase. Stop the hacking mission, full healing. Yeah, so there's a max life increase using one of the what's it called? The elves. So I was just missing out on elves, it seems.
this is why Santa won't come to you this year.
Increases. So here we go. Giver is one of the ones I have. Disposal center increases ladder climbing speed. Pull you out of a pit if you fall in. Brisky, pull you out of a pit if you fall in. But I don't know if this is temporary or long term. Destroy the train mission. Won't get bumped back by damage. So yeah, it looks like some of these are permanent. Enemy takes bullet shots, attacks enemies and stuns. Save from pit death, save from pit death. Stun minor enemies. Increase defense. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It is difficult. It is a difficult game. I don't hate it. I don't. I guess yeah. I don't like the fact that they're like powering up doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense how like powering up works or what the ranking system means. If I'm not going to get a reward for getting any rank, why am I going to bother?
Yeah.
Even this guide that I'm skimming through isn't giving any like tutorial about the game itself. So I might give it another shot next week. I might restart it from the beginning and give it another shot. Or I might just jump into 0-2 and see how that goes. I know at some point they go back to the normal Mega Man format, but it's such a strange way to work.
Yeah, and hopefully it's one of those where like the first game was like the rocky one, and then after that is where they kind of like sorted out like what works, what doesn't work, and have it kind of smooth from there. Because I've never heard bad things about the Zero games. I've either heard nothing at all or like generally positive. They're the games that I never played. I like for no particular reason either. I just never actually played them.
Yeah.
But do you want to talk about the Helldivers, or do you want to move on to Hades? Because I know you had some stuff to do after recording. It's getting a little late.
The only stuff I have to do after recording is play more Helldivers. So we can be a little delayed on that. It's just streaming.
I didn't want you to be too late for your stream.
Look, it's only 7:15. We got time.
I thought you said you wanted to wrap up by 7:30.
Nah, 7:38ish. So
okay.
Well, I don't remember what time I said, but it's the same as last week, which is probably 8. Last week I was said like 8 or 8:30, and it's the same this week.
Okay, cool.
Preferably by 8, but
I was just trying to be thoughtful to your time. That's all.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. So Helldivers.
So I'm sure everyone who listens, all 12 of you who listens, have heard about the whole Helldivers controversy going on right now, or not right now, because it's actually as of 3 days ago not happening anymore.
So I didn't know it was a controversy literally until today.
Yeah, it was a big thing. Like people were even me were requesting refunds for the game on Steam because Sony was requiring people starting this month, new players starting yesterday, the 6th of May, to link their PlayStation Network accounts to. If you were playing on Steam, you had to link a PlayStation Network account. If you did not have one, you had to make one. And then any existing players would have to have had that done by the end of the month. This is an issue for so many reasons. For me personally, it's a security issue. Because you're talking about Sony, who gets attacked all the fucking time and has so many data breaches. And you're talking about Steam, which is extremely vulnerable. I do not feel safe linking my Steam account to anything. I don't feel safe linking my PlayStation Network account to anything. I don't feel safe linking any accounts to anything, and I try not to. And if I do have anything linked, and I'm being even like as blatant as like fucking Grubhub and shit, I try not to do that. Yes, I'll log in with my Google email address, but I'm not linking my Gmail with that. It is just I'm logging in using that Gmail. And the game basically to me was becoming unplayable at that point. And so I requested refund twice. They kept telling me no. People all around the world were requesting refunds. It got massively downvoted. Because people were not happy with this. Not only is it a security concern, which was my concern, 170 countries and territories around the world were getting locked out of the game because they cannot have a PlayStation Network account because they're in a country or territory that does not have PlayStation Network.
So initially when I saw this, like the first thing, I'm just like, well, that's not a big deal. Like you're linking the accounts. But then I realized like, oh, but it's on Steam, which means people might not have PlayStations, might not have PSN accounts. Those people shouldn't have to create a PSN account just to be able to play the game. I hadn't even thought about the fact that there are places where the PSN just doesn't exist. That Steam still does.
Exactly. And Sony was just kind of turning around saying tough cookies. At Steam, those people started requesting refunds, weren't getting them, and then it got delisted from Steam, and Steam still didn't do refunds right away. Eventually they did, and then people that weren't in those territories were also pushing hard enough, and a lot of people got their refunds. All of this to turn around that, like if you go onto the Steam reviews, it got killed in Steam reviews.
I believe it.
Let me find Helldivers real quick. And, it would have been faster just to search Helldivers than to go through. Oh, there's an update. I got to make sure to update. Then go to my library and click the store page. But it at one point was mostly negative reviews for all recent all-time reviews.
That sucks.
It is now back to mixed, and all recent reviews are mixed, and all reviews are mostly positive. So like the review bomb people have turned around their reviews. I don't know if the game has been reactivated back into onto those 170 countries and territories. I don't know that yet. There are people that are holding out until that happens. My boycott of the game was I refused to link these accounts. The second they turned that away, I'm like, all right, well, my thing is fulfilled. I feel bad for the 170 countries and territories that can't play. Hopefully they can play. Hopefully that gets fixed soon. But like I can play, and I'm gonna play now. I was requesting a refund to just rebuy the game on PlayStation. That's what I wanted. I wanted to just be like, okay, give me my money back so I can play your game where it's meant to be played then.
Yeah.
Because there are people out there that tried to make the argument like Minecraft requires you to make a Microsoft account. Fortnite requires you to make an Epic account. Okay, then don't play those on your PlayStation. Don't play those on your Steam. I refuse to do that. I have Minecraft on my PC through Microsoft Game Pass. I have Fortnite on my PC through Epic. I have 2 accounts for Fall Guys. One on my PS5 that I don't use anymore because I have it on PC, and the other one that I play through Epic because it's an Epic required game.
Yeah, which like that's totally fair. Like if you don't want to link your accounts, like you definitely shouldn't have to. For me it doesn't bother me. Because and I said this on your Discord too, like, in theory, linking those accounts, they shouldn't actually have access to any important data between the two of them. And it shouldn't be opening up any sort of pathway where if one of them is compromised, the other one is suddenly compromised. But like, I can understand wanting to be cautious for that.
In theory, you're right. In theory, it shouldn't affect anything. But you're also talking about Sony and Steam right now.
Yeah. I don't save payment like information in any of those. So like,
you have a PlayStation Plus account, don't you?
Yeah, but I actually have to go in there and put a credit card in each year.
Mine auto subs every year.
I go after it auto subs. I go in and I delete my credit card.
Yeah,
like I do not keep payment information in those accounts. Just I don't need to, and I don't want to accidentally like. And it even comes down to just like I don't want to accidentally buy something because I just wasn't paying attention to what I was doing and I was trying to like read something and I just purchased it because Amazon has one-click purchasing. Steam's a little more like you have to click through a few screens for that. I just don't have a reason to save payment information to Steam. Like I don't buy that many Steam games.
I got doxxed through Steam. I canceled my account that day. Like that evening, I canceled my account and I had to get new information. And ever since then, I don't save my payment information because you know how they got my information? They were able to get into the Steam system hardware and find my saved payment information. That's the only way I can think of they were able to get my information that fast.
So because no system saves your payment information as plain text. So they were able to find like your contact information, but at least they weren't able to find your actual credit card numbers.
But that's the thing, like the contact information, they got it through my payment information.
Right.
Because when you see
it's still bad. I was just trying to make sure that like at least it wasn't like it sucks. It shouldn't have happened. At least there's no way for them that they got your actual card information too.
But like whether this even if I were to get a PlayStation Network thing, if they were to turn around and say, "Oh yeah, we were hacked again. All right, get new payment information." I'm changing my card again because my card is saved on there because I have a yearly PS Plus. Which actually, do I have a yearly? I don't know how my PS Plus gets paid for anymore. I'm gonna be honest. I gotta find that because I have changed my payment information since
Are you sure you still have PlayStation Plus?
I do. It probably just because I do save it on PlayStation because fuck putting all that information on the PlayStation every time you want to buy something.
So I think that's the thing too. I don't buy stuff through any of the platforms. I do it all either on the website or on the mobile app.
Yeah.
So it's not it's actually easier for me to just like I have my stuff saved like in secure things. So I can just autofill it fairly easily.
Yeah. So every time I go to like anytime I buy something on a PS5, it's just and look, I'm security focused, but yeah, I might not be being super security focused by saving that information on there, but that is a risk I'm willing to take with one service. The thought of it might not be back end, it might not be easy for them to reach this information, but it could in my brain, it could always be possible. If I had these accounts linked, if I had my Epic linked to my PlayStation Network account and PSN got hacked, well, guess what? I got to change my information for PSN. I got to change my information for Epic. Same with Steam. If PSN gets hacked, I'm changing my information on Steam. If Steam gets hacked, I'm changing my information on PSN. It's just security. It just, to me, it's a risk that doesn't need to be taken. And with the track record of these two services, it shouldn't be a needed thing, especially since it wasn't needed for the first 6 months of the game release.
Which, like that is the thing that's weird, is to implement something like that after the fact. If the game had launched on PC with the PSN requirement, okay, like that is just, that is the thing. Because I think when Portal 2 launched on PlayStation 3, you had to sign in with a Steam account because it's a Valve game.
Yeah, I never had Portal on PlayStation, or
I did because I never had another way to play it.
Yeah, I had a PC good enough, and so I had it on my PC. Like it sucks because at this point I'm pushing exclusivity, but like if you're going to push these requirements, then don't push these games onto other consoles and systems because you are making a security risk.
So that's one thing. Like I don't know that it's really a security risk.
I
I understand your concern, and I'm not faulting you for having that concern. I think
yeah.
it is better to err on the side of caution. Like I see enough bullshit in work. Like things are real. Like
Yeah. And you're also talking to me who was cautious of downloading WinRAR. Like
yeah,
I don't
exactly.
like I am just super cautious of downloading anything and connecting anything and linking anything. Like I think that like I I have a complaint with work that there's too many it's too there's too many passwords. There's too many accounts to log in with work. I have to log in to my PC with a different login that I need to log into the main system. With a different login that I have to log into this, different login I have to log into that. And it's like I'm like, why doesn't this all use the same thing? But I'm like, you know what? It's secure. It's safe. I hate it. I hate it. There's too many passwords, but it's safe and it's secure. And that's when you use a password manager to help you with your passwords. That's what everyone should be using now as a password manager. I may be using Google. It may not be the most secure, but I do use a password manager. Like it's 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 just I'd rather feel safe. I'd rather be cautious, overly cautious, and feel safe than do something like linking to accounts that, and it's not even the idea of payment information because like you can cancel that immediately. That's not what I'm scared about. What I am scared about is I have, hold on, let me pull it up real quick. Where is that spreadsheet? Where is it? Where's it at? Here we go. I have on Steam, I have 313 games. On PlayStation Network, I have 308 games. What if I lose access to all this shit because of a hack or because of because of these links were linked and somehow got in together? Like that's my concern.
And that's where like again, just to be clear, like I'm not saying that you shouldn't have the concern, but that stuff shouldn't be linked in any way where that could ever happen. Like those accounts shouldn't be communicating in a way where any of your actual data is getting like passed between them.
Yeah, shouldn't. But again, and I hate this as like a quote excuse, but again, you're talking about Sony and Steam here, which like look, I think Steam is extremely vulnerable. I got doxxed by some random schmo in 12 seconds. Steam is extremely vulnerable.
I mean, yes, like everything is extremely vulnerable, particularly if you know what you're doing. Like for you, that may have seemed quick, but like that person may have been like trying to get into Steam for a year and finally found like
Yeah.
the back door into it.
And but once you find the back door into it, you're in it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
how to do that, and it takes no time at all. And you see somebody with a TTV on their name or something, it's like, oh, I got you. I'm gonna blow up your spot.
Now, here's my question, because like I haven't played Helldivers and I knew very little about this coming in.
Yeah.
Did you just simply have to like launch the game and sign into a PSN account, or did you have to actively do something with PSN and Steam?
So let's see if I can. Let's go to the Helldivers store page and see if they still have that on there. That update.
So while you're doing that, I only ask because I know like with some Ubisoft games, like they ask you to sign into your Ubisoft account, but it is in game. Like you're not doing it. You're not linking it to another service or anything like that. You're just simply inside of that game. You are signing into another platform or service.
So I don't know about the account linking because it was supposed to come into effect yesterday. But they were always said it was optional. There's a chance people have already done it. But the update, which has been slashed out and said like we're no longer doing this, says due to technical issues at launch Helldivers 2, we allowed the linking requirements of Steam accounts to be to a PlayStation Network account to be temporarily optional. The grace period will now expire. See details below in the post. Account linking plays a critical point. Security, protecting our players, upholding the values of safety and security on PlayStation Studio games. It's our main way to protect players from griefing, abuse, enabling, banning players. As such, as of May 6th, new Helldivers players on Steam will be required to connect their Steam account to a PlayStation Network account. Current players on Steam will start to see the mandatory login from May 30th and will be required to have a linked Steam and PlayStation Network account by June 4th. PlayStation Network accounts are free and easy to set up. So it wasn't just signing in, it was linking.
So I wonder how that actually works. Like, I mean, like it doesn't matter in any real way.
Yeah,
Like, I'm just curious, like,
because like I believe you need like a respawn account to play Apex, but it's not. But no, because Apex, if I were to play Apex, it uses my Steam name.
yeah,
That's all my Steam
Apex
information.
doesn't. But even like Minecraft, I don't think you do anything crazy with Minecraft. I think you literally just inside of the game you sign into a Microsoft account.
And that's the thing, and that's why no one has a problem with it with my because you're not connecting your accounts together. You're just logging in because was seeing people like, well, good luck with Battle.net. I'm like, well, Battle.net, you have a Battle.net account. You're not linking Battle.net to your Steam account. You're just logging into Battle.net.
Yeah, exactly.
That is a difference. That's the difference. Like maybe it is just a login. Maybe it is. But if they didn't make that a requirement from the get-go, and I have 14 levels on my character. My character's like level 14 or 15 or something like that. I don't know. He's probably like level 10 or 11. Like my playthrough right now, I'm level 10 or 11, and I was just playing on an unnamed account, but it's using my Steam information to notify people what my character's name is and everything. BWalnuts is on there. But then I have to log into a PlayStation Network account. That's basically creating a new character. That's not linking. That's creating a new character and them taking all of my information that's already in this game and moving it to another account, which is linking. Like it's when it requires an account or when it requires a login are two separate things. And
yeah,
that's why
I agree.
Yeah. And that's why I think like the issue when it comes to Epic with Fall Guys or I was gonna say Fallout, Fall Guys or Fortnite, or when it comes to Respawn and what's it called, Apex Legends, or when it comes to when I played A Way Out, I don't think I had to link my accounts for
That's an EA
That's an EA game. I did have to download Origin and log into Origin to play that game, but I did not have to link an account. But guess what I did immediately after? If it was linked, it is unlinked now. I played that game for 2 days and then unlinked it because I am not playing that game again. If I have to do that with any other EA games, I'm just going to no. We had to create an EA account. That's what it was. I had to use my Origin account, and Tim had to download A Way Out demo version through Origin so that we could play together. We couldn't use our Steam account information to play together.
Right. And like every platform does that. And yeah, like I understand not wanting to do it. I don't even use the same password for anything. Like I have like generic passwords I use for like bullshit stuff that literally doesn't matter. But then like I do randomly generated passwords for almost everything else.
The only passwords I know are Facebook, Google, and my bank account.
I don't even know those.
Those are really the only, because I make sure to know Google because I use Google passwords. So if I don't know my Google password, I can't get my passwords.
I have a password manager that's separate, so I know that one password. And then I let that auto create obnoxious passwords for everything else.
Well, that's what I use Google's password manager.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So like I need to know my Google login account because unfortunately, all of my passwords are managed and saved through my Google account. So yes, if Google gets hacked and my information gets lost, guess where all my passwords are? On there. Yeah. And so I'm going to have to go through and redo all my passwords. That sucks for me, but there's also some services that I don't save a password on there for. Like, for instance, my bank account information. I don't save my password on my bank account information. Password. I know that password. It's in my brain. I'm not linking. I would never save my bank account password information.
If you have a secure password manager, it's not a problem.
Yeah, but it's that level of like I would just much rather be a little bit more secure. My passwords might not be the most secure thing with modern password manager passwords, but it's still like I'm not like, especially since I just generally use Google Password Manager, I'm not running that risk of Google Password Manager or Google being hacked into and my password being put out there somewhere.
Yeah, but, and again, like I get it. But
yeah,
we live in a world where like honestly, like passwords are so unimportant anymore. If you have 2-factor on things, and Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like either having two-factor or having passwordless login options, like
Yeah.
with like a like either like a fob or something like that. Like, it's
Yeah.
just easier that way because no one can get into your account unless they have like your device to prove it's you.
Hmm. Yeah, that's why, like, even my Google password, sometimes get wrong because to say log into a new Google account on a PC, I just tell it to reach out to my phone, and I do the whole phone spiel where like it sends me a code and I let it know that that's me.
Yeah, I have the authenticator app for Google, but then I do have the backup for like phone call. Um,
Yeah.
and like so for like I have Google accounts for some of my clients that like those are just phone. Like I don't have those added into the app because I don't want client stuff going into the authenticator app. I want that stuff to remain separate.
Yeah.
But do you want to move along from
Yeah.
Helldivers and account linking?
Yeah. Let's move on.
So I grabbed the early access for Hades 2.
Nice.
Because it's one of the few roguelike sort of games that I did enjoy, even if I didn't get very far in. I definitely played a lot of it. I wasn't good at it, but it was still fun, and I liked the characters and the combat. So I figured, why the fuck not?
Yeah.
It's more Hades in like in all the good ways, I should say.
Yeah.
They have so it's early access, so I don't actually know how much of this will change by the time it goes 1.0 or not. But remember in Hades, you would get into that room right before like you'd start like your next run, and you'd be able to like pick which weapon you want to take with you.
Yeah.
I don't remember in Hades 1 because it's been long enough. If you had to do anything to unlock those weapons, or if they were just always random. Do you?
You had to get them somehow, I'm sure.
Okay, you did.
Yeah, it wasn't just like, oh, here's a set of, it was, the run starts with you picking whatever weapon you want to bring with you. And because it also starts with you picking like before it's not even starts.
First boon when in the first area.
Yeah, well, it's not. Yeah, like your run doesn't start until after you pick your weapon, set up your loadout, set up all of your bonuses, whatever, and then leave that room. Once you leave that room, that's when the run starts. So yeah, it was there. There was how many weapons were there? Like 5 weapons or something like that. I don't know. I played the game for 12 hours. Thought it was fine. So we all know my viewpoint on Hades.
Yeah, I know it wasn't your favorite, but you know, to each their own.
Yeah, I thought the combat was just incredibly boring, and everyone tries to tell me, well, you need to play it more, but I'm like, I played it for 12 hours, and I was incredibly bored. Why would I play it more?
I had fun with it. Like, I enjoyed the combat. I enjoyed trying the new weapons and seeing what worked for me, and even the repetitiveness, because that's usually the thing that kills me in these games is like you die and you just redo the same thing again. That one, like, I actually felt like I was making progress because there was a little bit of like unlocks to it. Like, it wasn't strictly you just start over and do another run sort of thing. And like every time you died, there was a little bit more story to come back to usually. And that's sort of how this one is too. You're playing as a different character, Melonia or something like that. So it's a female protagonist this time. There's a different cast of ancient Greek mythology figures in your like hub world. It is not does not appear that you were just in Hades again this time the way you were last time. And this time you're actually, so like, minor spoilers, you're going after the Titans, or at least you're going after Kronos is what they've said.
According to the Steam, you're going after the Titan of Time,
which it's Kronos, right?
Yeah, I'm assuming. Yeah, Kronos is time.
Yeah. But Kronos was also the father of the Greek gods.
Yeah. Like, is that actually what it normally is, or is that just God of War?
No, that basically everything I've ever read or been through that was like that related. Kronos is the father of the majority of the gods, like the first wave of them. That's why the Titans are not gods in that weird way, and he ate all of them except for Zeus. And then because they're gods, though they're immortal, they don't digest. Zeus killed his father, and freed his siblings.
Yeah.
And then began to make babies with them.
Yes.
But yeah, so in this one you're going after Kronos. Right off the bat, there are some ties to the first game that I'm not gonna just spoil since it literally launched in early access yesterday. Your initial weapon though is like a staff and a mid-ranged attack that you can do with it. And you've got 2 charge-up abilities with it, where if you charge up the mid-ranged attack, it uses some of like your magic energy. But it goes a little further, it does more damage. And same thing with your melee attack. If you charge it up, it does some more damage, but uses some of your magic. And then you have this this cast ability that, at least where I'm at right now for like what my loadout is, it drops like a portal on the ground. The basic portal will slow or freeze enemies depending on the type of enemy. If you hold it and charge it, it will also do some damage. And I've so far gotten what's it called? Boons that actually like added like a fireball to that. So initially when you drop it, you just kind of drop it where you are. With the fireball boon, I was actually shooting a fireball at the enemies, and then when it hit an enemy, it then opened the portal underneath them. So it gave me a little bit more versatility, where that thing was useful, but also risky, because there were some enemies that just stream attacks at you. And to stop for a second when they're close to you, to drop that, to then move, like you're probably taking damage, especially if they're... So it's got if they have a red health bar, if you attack them, you basically stun lock them, and they can't attack until you stop attacking them. If they have that gold bar, though, they're like the elite or whatever you want to call it, where you have to knock that gold bar down first before they'll start getting stun locked. So those guys will keep attacking you if you're not careful. And there's like these like banshee enemies that scream and chase you, and they're a pain in the ass when they're fucking in that gold phase, because you have to they chase you for a while screaming, do a decent amount of damage, and you really have to wait them out to stop screaming before you can turn around and actually hit them again. So having this cast that you can shoot a fireball, do damage to them, and then have it kind of slow them down, so you can then kind of bombard them with your ranged attack, which unfortunately doesn't do a ton of damage, but if you do it quick enough, you basically get that chip damage out of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been cool so far. I also I got some frost boons too for the ranged and the melee weapon that they actually froze or stunned the enemies for a little while, which was also super helpful. It was great for crowd control. And then I managed to get to the first boss twice. I've not beaten the first boss yet, but I've gotten to them twice.
Yeah.
I got really close both times. They have some interesting patterns. They're not super hard. It's just the patterns happen, and if you get hit by one thing, you're just kind of fucked. Like I got turned into a sheep at one point, and I got turned into a sheep right before this phase where the boss adds a bunch of extra enemies and also spawns portals under you. So if you're not moving quick enough, these portals spawn and do damage to you, and you just end up kind of screwed. So that's what killed me the first time, and the second time I was just a little too haphazard with I was trying to get in and like be more aggressive, and it wasn't working out.
Yeah, I get it.
But yeah, it's been fun so far.
Nice. Just more Hades? Is it just as random as previous Hades?
Yeah, like it's procedurally generated from the look of it. Like every time I go in, it's definitely different maps and stuff like that. You get like the different doors with like the different symbols that are kind of indicators for what you might get by doing those areas. And there's inevitably one that takes you to like the shop so you can buy stuff.
Yeah. And are there just as many currencies as there were in Hades 1?
So far I only have 2 currencies. I have like the coins that I can use to buy things at like the shop, and I have one that does like a that lets me upgrade things back at like the hub world. So
if this game isn't in the underworld, they should change the title. It shouldn't be called Hades.
So I think you're in a part of Hades still, because you are like dying and then coming back sort of thing, but it's not that same like encampment or whatever you want to call it from the first one.
Yeah.
Because this one is also like seemingly decades later, I have to assume. But like I haven't gotten enough of the story given to me yet to really know like how much time has passed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm having fun with it so far. I know Drew actually was playing it yesterday too, to the surprise of no one.
No, not shocked.
So I'm sure he will probably have more to say about it just because he played enough of the first game to be able to correlate things a little bit better than I am.
That's why he's not here. He's just wanted to play Hades all day.
Probably. But yeah, I'm enjoying it a whole bunch. I almost certainly will not beat it because I'll hit that like wall in the game where I'm like, I'm no longer having fun getting to these parts. But it probably won't be for a little while because I definitely played a decent amount of the first one, even though I never got like crazy far. I think I got to like the 4th area. But yeah,
nice. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Me too.
Maybe when it's on a decent, good sale, maybe I'll get it and give it a shot. But no promises that I'll like it. You want to try a roguelite game? Give Pacific Drive a shot. I did not know that was a roguelite when I bought it.
Really?
Yeah. It's a run-based game, and every time you go into the regions, even the same regions, they are laid out differently each time. It's procedurally generated maps each time. It's interesting. It's probably not going to be a live or a let's play game for a lot longer. I'm still trying to decide how I'm going to do that. It might become a live stream game because the problem is it generally takes me an hour and a half to 2 hours to get enough content to actually be able to do a half-hour worth of content without it just being me driving around. And like, you're not driving very fast because you're in a fucking station wagon on off-road. But it's a fun game, but it's really hard to do a let's play of that, in my opinion. At least the way I do let's plays.
Which, yeah, I feel like roguelites and roguelikes are one of the, like, for the style of let's play you do, like, would either work really well or really poorly.
And that's the thing. Like, there's no real, like, there is a story in this game. But it's driven by story. But there's also, like, there's no progression while you're out in the world. All the progression happens in your main hub. So you do occasionally find, like, data terminals and things like that you can read about or can listen to. But besides that, like, yeah, there's occasional instances where I run into things, fucking weeping angels all over the goddamn place.
Right, that's the game that okay.
Yeah,
I remember you talking about Pacific Drive, but I wasn't able to remember what the game actually was.
Yeah. But it's just like there really isn't a lot happening when you're out in the world unless there's story going on. Like there's possible you're not going to run into anything for an entire region, and then you're just driving around collecting the way to progress properly is there's these little orbs that you can collect. And as you collect those orbs and put them in your car, you can then progress your blueprints back in the main hub. So it's just going in and doing runs to gather these orbs to then go back in the main hub, get more, and craft whatever you can craft to make your car better. And so it's like, it's a vicious cycle. And it's just, to me, this game in particular doesn't work very well for a let's play in the style that I do it.
Yeah. If you were doing like just because I know you do that, like you basically do run-based let's plays is the best way to put it. But like you're playing games where those runs can actually last for, your end could run in the first episode, but like it could also last you like, didn't like Subnautica or one of them like last you like 30 episodes or something crazy?
Well, Subnautica just ended at 17, something like that.
What was the one that went really long?
So my permadeath playthroughs, that was The Long Dark and 7 Days to Die. Those are the only two games that I were doing permadeath for. And The Long Dark went for almost 40 episodes, something like that. And that's like, I mean, if I look at Steam to look at my playtime in The Long Dark, that's how long it took for me to record that series for the most part. But like a
roguelite, like you'd have to go into it knowing that you're probably going to do 2, 3, 4 runs per let's play, basically.
But the
And
issue the issue is and like I don't mind that it's a run based game, but the one run takes an hour and a half, 2 hours sometimes. And so then to cut that into a half hour, to try to find content to cut that into a half hour, I'm losing 2 hours of time basically. And it's if I had more time to do Let's Plays, this would be easier. If that makes sense. Like I would be 100% more for it.
yeah, no,
But
that I understand what you're saying.
but because this is like my spare time kind of thing. So I have a total of 68 hours in the Long Dark. Most of that was from my Let's Play.
Nice.
And that was about 40 hours, and that was generally there was about 40 something episodes, and it's generally about an hour to an hour and a half per per session was recorded and then cut down to 25 to 45 minutes. With, for instance, right now I'm doing Bloodborne as well, that I'm playing for about an hour to 2 hour, an hour to an hour and a half, and I'm able to cut that down to about 45 to 50 minutes. But like, it's being played the way a Souls-like is going to be played, a Soulsborne is going to be played. Like, I'm dying a lot, and I'm just trying to remember how to do things. But like, I am also like cutting out a lot of grinding, and it's like, hey guys, and doing some like VO, like, yeah, I just grinded for the next hour, and I'll show you guys the deaths here, kind of thing. With my time at Porsche, it is like a slice of life thing. It's like and it can be anywhere between 2 days to a week in game time. Here's what I did, and that usually takes about an hour to 2 hours. But like for the runs to be as long as they are, and feel like I'm not getting anywhere in the game. It's just it's I don't know, it's rough, which is why I feel like it's just going to be better on live stream, because then I can just be chatting with everyone while I'm playing the game and while I'm doing things and exploring things, and it's going to be easier to like clip things and clip my reactions anytime the fucking weeping angels pop up and shit like that.
Yeah, no, I get that. That definitely makes sense.
But we'll see what I decide with that. I'm honestly missing the Long Dark and kind of want to go back to that. I miss playing that game.
Do it.
I'd have to figure out a new theme for this playthrough. I would be getting the DLC or maybe playing some of the story modes or something.
Which, I mean, hey, like if you can find more ways to do it, like you may as well do it.
Yeah, that's how I was doing with 7 Days to Die, and then I had two back to back. I had two series back to back that one lasted like 11 episodes. The one after that lasted like 8 episodes, not even. And then the one after that, I recorded 2 episodes and died on the second episode. It's like, I can't release this. I'm not going to release a 2-episode series. And then it's like, oh, well, 1.0 is announced and is coming out by the end of June. I'm like, all right, well, let's just take a break from 7 Days to Die until 1.0 comes out.
Yeah, it's so weird that like a game like that is like, you got so much out of it, but it's not actually
12 years
completed.
12 years in production, 21 pre-alpha builds or alpha builds. Finally, it's going to be released, but it's still not complete with 1.0. They're still story mode is going to be like 1.5 or 2.0 or something like that. And then they're upgrading like the weather system and stuff like that as well. But 1.0, the game has changed drastically from from Alpha 17, which is what a lot of people know because that's the console version, to Alpha 21 and then 1.0. There are changes I don't like about it. There are changes that make the gameplay and the gameplay loop a little bit repetitive, especially when you're doing like me as a permadeath thing. But like, because there's no real story or goals in the game, if I'm playing as a content creator mindset, there's no reason to do anything besides permadeath.
Yeah,
But once there's like a story and whatnot, then it'll be different, and I'll push for the story or and things like that as well.
Nice. Yeah. And hey, maybe you can pick up Hades too.
Maybe eventually. Look, I'm in the middle of a roguelite already. I've got too many games to play. I've got way too many games to play right now.
That's fair. But yeah, I'm enjoying Hades too. Just to wrap that back around.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that will probably do it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. All right. So next week is our next book club where we are going to be doing Catch Me If You Can, right? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Catch Me If You Can.
Yeah.
But other than that, if you'd like to find more of our content, you can head over to www.one-quest.com. You can also help us out by supporting us at patreon.com/onequest. If you can't support us there with your dollars, you can go to your favorite podcast platform: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. No, I'm not forgetting one. Sorry.
Google Podcast isn't around anymore.
Oh, that's right. It's all just Google Music now, right?
Yeah, it's all on YouTube Music.
Why have you not mentioned that?
I just realized I don't listen to you. But it was also like mid-April or early April that it stopped existing.
Oh, is it that recent?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not. It's only been about a month, and it's something I just thought of as you were talking about it.
Okay. I'll have to update our stuff for that then. I will still call it Google Podcast for at least a little while.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can also find us on social media, facebook.com/onequestonline or at @1_quest on Instagram and Twitter. Our YouTube channel is youtube.com/onequestvideo. And you can always send us an email to social@one-quest.com. And Rich, what is your streaming?
Twitch.tv/B_walnuts, where I'm video game streaming Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Monster Hunter World, Mega Man games, Helldivers, and Sea of Thieves are my general things. And then keep a lookout for the weekend of June 8th and 9th when I'm celebrating my 3-year stream anniversary. I'll be playing Super Mario Odyssey, and I'll be doing a Moon Rush, where depending on how many bits and subscriptions I get while playing the game, determines how many moons I have to get. Literally, it's a lot of moons per bits and subscription. So, like, I'm going to be playing that game for a while. Like, fucking 5 moons per sub. It's a lot. It's a lot. Come help. I need money.
So real quick, just to recap that. How were you working that again for Mario Odyssey?
So starting the beginning of May until the event. No, starting the beginning of May until the event.
Oh, okay.
Every new follower I get up until then adds 1 moon I have to get start with the starting of the stream. Starting at the beginning of June, every sub I get prior to the event are 2 moons I have to get. This is really pushing people to save their subs until the event. And then once the event starts, every sub I get for a tier 1 sub is 5 moons that I have to get while playing the game. 10 for a tier 2, 15 for a tier 3. Every 150 bits, and I might change that number, but right now it's 150 bits, is 5 moons. Every 1,000 bits is 10 moons. Every 500 bits after 1,000 bits is another 10 moons. So if you do 1,500 moons, that is 20 moons that I have to get. If we reach a hype train, I have to get 10 moons for every level of hype train we get every time we get a hype train. So if we reach a level 4 hype train, that's 40 more moons we have to get. There's 900 moons in this game. And I love this game. So I really don't think we're going to get more than what I need to just beat the game at the moment. But we'll see. If at any point in time I don't have any more moons to get because we've reached our total number, I will stop playing the game, or I'll pause the game, and I'll sit there and do it just chatting until the end of stream. If by the end of stream I am out of total moons, the event is over. However, if by the end of stream I still have moons to get, the event continues on the next day. If at the end of the 2 days, because it's the 8th and 9th, if I still have moons to get, the event continues every time I play the game. I won't strictly be playing the game every day, but it will continue every time I do play the game. So any subs, bits, and hype trains we reach while I'm playing the game will continue to add to that until we reach 0 moons left to get with what was purchased.
And you're not going into it with like a pool of I'm going to do the first 20 moons regardless. It's strictly what like adds up based on like the different kind of pools you have set.
Yeah, so that's why it's with any new follower that I get from all of May until the event and subs that I get in June till the event. That's why that is listed there, so that helps build it up. If we end up if we don't get any new followers this month and we only get like 2 or 3 subs before then and it's 6 moons, and I'll be like, all right, I'll probably mess with the rules a little bit. But for the most part right now, that's how I'm playing it.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a lot of math on my end. You guys just got to give me money. That's really it. Just give me money.
Or follows even.
Or follows. Or look, here's the thing. Say several people do 500 or 1,000 bits. I think it's actually 150 bits is 1 moon. 500 bits is 5 moons and 1,000 bits is 10 moons. I think that's what it was. So like if 5 people give me 500 bits each, that's 25 moons. On top of the fact that we will also be hitting a hype train, at least one. So that is 10 moons for each level of hype train we get. So if we reach a level 4 hype train, that's 40 moons on top of the 25 that we already have from the 500 bits. So that's 65 moons we have to get while we play. And my basic goal is to play through the story, is just get enough moons to play through the story before going back and getting all the rest of the moons. So this way we can at least get through the story if possible. Nice. And not like be like, all right, well, we have 30 moons we have to get. Let me get all 30 moons in this first region. It's no, let's just get just as much as I need to move forward. And then we'll keep moving forward and then go back to the regions once we have to. I think it's a fun event. It's a little bit of a play on a subathon. The stream will go longer the more moons I have to get, but there is a set start and a minimum set end. And I will not, if so, say my set start is 9 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning. I think I'm going to go until 5 at minimum. And if at 5 o'clock we have no more moons to get, stream's over. But if at 5 we have more moons to get, I'm going to keep going until I have no more moons to get. Or until like 10 o'clock, and then call it from there and continue the next day.
Yeah, I agree. I think that is actually like not a bad like. Yeah. I've always thought like the subathons are like they're neat for like the streamers to do, but like they're also kind of silly. Yeah, but this is actually more of a like it's a thing.
Yeah, like it's an event. It's more than just, hey, give me money and I'll continue to stream. Also, on top of that, I do sub rewards every month. Any subs that happen during this event will go toward that monthly sub rewards awards, but I might also have stretch goals on top of those for reaching hype trains, for reaching things like that, do other things. One of my sub goals is to build Legos on stream. One of my sub goals is to play D&D on stream. One of my sub goals is to do a Jackbox live stream. Like one of them, which I'll probably rework or figure out, is to do what I call an adventure stream and to go out somewhere and live stream while doing that. So if I ever happen to maybe get a chance to go to a Ren Fair, I could find a way to live stream while at the Ren Fair. I probably won't want to do that because I would want to enjoy the Ren Fair for the first time I've ever been there, but it's something I'm playing with. Maybe try live streaming while at PAX for like an hour this year or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, like just do like one of those IRL sort of like whatever they're called.
Yeah, like walk around and talk to developers and have like a mic set up. They can be heard on my phone. We'll figure it out. But like that's options and ideas that I'm just messing around with and playing with. But yeah, it's I'm trying to find ways to award you guys for coming and helping me. I'm also I hate being this way, but because of the way money is, I didn't want to always do a subathon, but subathons are the best way to try to raise money, especially when somebody like me who has a lot of bills, who are having trouble with money because their job sucks. It's the best way for me to try to fundraise for myself. That we'll figure it out. Like I also have ideas for cooking streams. It's one of the sub rewards and things like that. The cooking stream might be a while before I do that because I'm not going to have a leg for a while.
Oh, right.
Yeah, because I get surgery next week, which I kind of want to record on Tuesday next week, but I'll talk to you guys afterwards. But yeah, come hang out for my subathon, guys. Or not subathon, Super Mario Odyssey event that, like I said, continues every time I play the game until I get all the moons you guys have requested me to get. So if it takes me a month of playing it once a week, every time I play, you can keep adding moons. You can keep adding them until I get them all. Even if it's once we reach 999, that's it. You can't add anymore. I just have to get them all, and I have to torture myself in some of those hardest levels.
Yeah, which you are definitely doing.
Yeah.
But cool. So yeah, go do that for Richie. Like make him get all the moons. And I guess we'll be back next week with something else to talk about.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, bye.
See yas. Thanks for listening.